Hey guys, this is Sean here with Akceli, and we're just going to do a simple to-do app with everything default out of Akceli. The biggest benefit you're going to get from Akceli is going to be all the customization, but in this app, we're just going to get a feel for how to use Akceli. So I have a simple project set up right now. Akceli is not installed. All I've done is created the project. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is we need to register the Akceli repository in the composer JSON. Then we're going to install the Akceli generator. Then we're going to publish all the files. Now this is going to take just a little bit because Akceli is going to go ahead and run composer dump autoload for you. That way all the new classes are registered and they just work out of the box. PHP artisan Akceli generate is a command that will start the Akceli CLI. That's quite a handful to type all the time, so I just have an alias. The first thing I'm going to do is refactor the default user model to use Akceli setup. Since the user data has already been seeded into the database, all we have to do is generate the user model. The Akceli default model generator generates 3 files: the model test, and the model factory. Laravel comes with the default user factory set up out of the box. I personally am not a fan of this style of factories, so Akceli comes with a way to help generate factories that I prefer to use. And so right now what we're going to do is take this default data in the user factory that comes with Laravel by default. We're going to move this into the Akceli factory for the user model. Now that we have deleted the default Laravel user factory, once we run the model generator one more time, it will generate the Akceli factory. What I prefer about the Akceli factories is they're much simpler to use, and you don't have to read any complex documentation to figure out how it works. Everything's straightforward. If you know Laravel, then you'll be able to understand these factories. As you can see, these factories have 3 methods. They have a make default, which just makes the data. There's a create default, which will save it to the database. And then there's a create defaults, which you can make a collection of these all at once. And of course you have full control to modify this in any way that makes sense based off of the requirements of your app. Now we just need to clean up the code to use the user in the model directory now instead of in the root directory. So in the register controller, we'll just change this user, app user, to be app model user. Same thing in the auth.php. Now we need to make sure that we're conforming to the same interface that is required for the user. Make sure that we have all the hidden fields and fillable appropriately. And now we can go ahead and delete the user. Let's go ahead and create the to-dos now. First we have to create the to-do migration. Now that the migration is created, we'll just open it up. And right here you can see the Akceli relationship builder. We're going to leverage this to build our relationships. we're going to say that each to-do is going to belong to a user, and each user can have many to-dos. So in the belongs to relationship builder, you just put the related table inside the belongs to that will build the appropriate foreign keys, indexes, and if you would like, you can even pass extra arguments if you need to change some of the settings. Now the to-dos are going to have three other fields. It's going to have a is complete, a description, and a label. Now we got the migration made. Let's go ahead and run the migration. And let's go ahead and generate a controller for the user model. And we can see right here, it did not register it in the web.php. And that's because we're missing this indicator. So we're going to copy that indicator in right there. Rerun this command, generate controller users, and you can see it updated it and it registered it for us. So next time we don't even have to think about this, it'll just handle it for us. Let's go ahead and jump over to the test file and make sure that we have all the tests passing and the controller does exactly what we expect. And you can see the index route works just fine. The store method does not, but a user doesn't, in this scenario, isn't going to be created with this route. There's a registration that is going to create this. So let's go ahead and remove this test because it doesn't make sense for this controller. Then you can see that the update is broken. So next we'll modify the request data to match a form submission for whatever we expect to happen through the API. Then, as you can see, we're going to start any changes that we expect to happen. Now that we have the store removed from the test, we can go ahead and remove it here from the controller. Just removing the store to match. Now we go look at the update request, and these should be required. And just like that, we have it all working. Now that we have the users generated and we know how the controllers work, let's go ahead and generate all the rest of the controllers for the app. As you can see, we registered the to-do controller for us right there. We look at the test. Let's go ahead and run them. Looks like our to-dos have not been generated. And we just generated all the models for the project. The user relationship is set up for us. And we can also see on the users model, it also set up the to-dos relationship for us. Now we'll go ahead and make sure we have everything fillable set up. Go ahead and create a default user to tie this to-do to. Now we're going to finish filling out this form request. This is going to be our assertion that our changes were actually propagated to the database. And now we're updating the create request requirements. Double check that our fillable is set so that everything will go through. Now we can rerun our tests. Unknown formatter, we need to fix our generator. I'm just going to simply say that if we don't have a user, then we want to create one. This makes it easier to just generate a to-do with all the required data. And just putting in some faker data right now. So, looks like the create works. Now we just got to fix the update. For the most part, it's going to be the same, so I just copy the data down, make another user, but in this case we don't actually need to make a user. We can just leverage the fact that we know the appropriate user from the to-do, which is already generated in the factory. Try these tests again. Looks like we need to update the update request validation. And just like that, we have the to-dos controller up and running. Let's go ahead and check out the create blade. And this is the edit. Let's go ahead and see how this looks when you actually play with it. If you want your app to be like this, you would probably be better off going off of something like Nova and, you know, setting up your app like that. Akceli is meant for generating code suited to your project. This right here is meant for demos to show you how to use it and the power that it has. So you get the most benefit from Akceli once you set up a standard and you follow these standards consistently. You will speed up your development drastically because you will just say, I need to make a model, or I need to make a controller, or whatever, and it'll be scaffolded out to the point where you're done. You just jump into the test, in my case, because I like tests, tweak them accordingly, and move on. If you don't like tests, you can obviously bypass all that and just generate the code to where you want, make the tweaks, and move on if you prefer. And right now we're going to go ahead and make it so that the timestamps that get generated are not set to read only by default. So I'm going to move down here to the timestamp section. take that read-only property, remove it, regenerate the controllers. And this will just regenerate all the files that are missing at this point. Since I just deleted the edit file, we can just rerun it and it'll generate the edit file for the to-dos because it's missing. And once we check it out, you can see that they're no longer read-only. And obviously none of this is really limited to simple models, controllers, or anything like that. You can make anything that you can imagine that you want to automate. For example, in one of our production applications, we have a maintenance process that we have to run. Say we need to, or we call it a maintenance process. Say we need to migrate the existing data in to some other structure because requirements have changed. You know, it'll generate everything in the right place. I'll just say make a maintenance process. It'll generate the test with documents and hints in the test to help you make sure you follow all of our standards within this test. It will generate the maintenance process. It will register it where it needs to be, and you just jump into starting the test and go through your workflow. You don't have to dig through the docs that are written somewhere else saying, hey, how do we actually do this maintenance process? What are our standards? What do we, what are the requirements that we need to meet? We have standards. They're documented within these templates, and it makes life much easier to just focus on the actual problem instead of what do I need to do to tie all this code together, because that should be documented somewhere. And I feel Akceli is a great way of not only documenting it but also making it so that you don't have to worry about it moving forward.